The entire book is free of charge. Do not worship masters, do not lick Tang San. Through Douluo, with no other thoughts, just to capture the beautiful woman, become a god at level 100, and live forever. And the first one to be captured was actually the Pope of the Martial Soul Hall, Bibidong. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Starting from Bibidong to capture the goddess without a pop-up window. Douluo. Starting from Bibidong to capture the goddess. Download the complete text. Douluo. Starting from Bibidong to capture the goddess. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Action to kill demons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Action to kill demons. In the far north, there are frozen forests. The forest, which was originally covered in ice and snow, is now covered with severed limbs and bloodstains, like a fierce prison on earth. I would like to express my gratitude to the 100,000-strong army sent by the Heavenly Dou Empire for successfully advancing all 10 soul rings on my body to the 100,000 grade level. Situ Hongao sat on a small mountain piled up with corpses and said calmly. At this moment, the 10 red soul rings on Situ Han's body rhythmically moved up and down, and the blood-red light indicated their level. The soul rings of 100,000 grades were the treasure of the Soul Master world. He, who came from a killer background, had no name at all, only a simple numerical code. In those days of fighting, many external things such as name and wealth were not important to him. He always wanted only one thing, and that was to survive. Live for yourself. Whenever he can't bear being slaughtered and tortured, the only thing that can make him feel a little relieved is to read online novels. 3 years ago, during his final mission, a thunderbolt struck him, causing him to wear Douluo and awaken his martial soul, possessing 10 soul rings. Looking at the familiar white halo on his body and having read many novels, he suddenly realized that he had traveled to the world of Douluo. From that moment on, he knew that he would never be the sword in someone else's hand again, and that his life would always be under his control. Therefore, he gave himself a name. Situ Han, a name like that of a nobleman from a noble family, representing his eternal escape from the dark past. When reading novels, Situ Han once thought that if one day he could also travel to the world of Douluo, he would become a powerful god, gain unlimited life expectancy, and capture many beautiful women in Douluo. However, as an assassin, he knew very well that whether he was becoming a god or capturing a beautiful woman, he needed the support of strength, so he decided to first train his own strength to the full level. Situ Han, who understood the characteristics of his martial soul, picked up the sword in his hand. Unlike before, this time he was killing for himself. Wearing Douluo, he awakened 10 white soul rings and, with the help of his martial soul bloodthirsty sword, Situ Han slaughtered the entire frozen forest, elevating his 9 soul ring levels to 100,000 grades. With the help of the 100,000-strong army of Tiando, he became the only other soul master in the history of Douluo with a full soul ring of 100,000 grades. He only needed to accept the inheritance of his divine position or create his own divine position to fulfill his wish of becoming a god and immortality in Douluo. Suddenly, 14 figures walked out of the bloodstained forest, and from the 9 soul rings floating up and down on their bodies, it could be seen that the visitors were all titled Douluo. What other organization besides the Martial Soul Hall has such strength to gather so many titled Douluo at once? As the first organization to fight against evil soul masters, I have heard that people like Situ Han, who have a tendency to kill, naturally come to solve it. Especially after the sacrifice of 100,000 troops from the Heavenly Dou Empire. Evil demon, all the soul masters and soul beasts in the entire frozen forest have been slaughtered by you, and the 100,000 troops sent by the Heavenly Dou Empire have also been slaughtered by you. You have become a slaughterer, and today is your end. Prepare to die, shouted the 7th worshipper of the Martial Soul Hall, the demon subduing Douluo. Situ Han suddenly burst into an icy blue light, and a set of armor suddenly appeared on his body. The armor was crystal clear and dazzling, making it impossible to look at him. After slaughtering the entire frozen forest, Situ Han gathered 6 soul bones. Soul bones are all derived from ice attribute soul beasts and have been fused into a set of soul bone armor. Evil demons. What is right, what is evil? Perhaps in the eyes of soul beasts, the soul masters who hunt them are truly evil demons. Situ Han said coldly and ruthlessly. Demon subduing Douluo said, soul masters hunt soul beasts to break free from their own shackles, it is the way of heaven. You, a vicious cultivator with a killing habit, will be punished by everyone. Soul beast, are you born to die? The heavenly way. Even the small title Douluo dares to talk about the heavenly way recklessly. It's really my fault to keep you noisy for so long. Situ Han shook the void and the demon subduing Douluo was immediately enveloped by a cold aura, sinking into the ice layer. With a loud bang, the ice layer exploded, leaving no trace of the demon slaying Douluo's remains, only a trace of blood mist, indicating that someone had appeared here before. A move to kill the titled Douluo frightened and stunned everyone in the martial soul hall. Pope Bibidong instantly realized, the cold ice on the earth can increase the speed of its freezing. Everyone, get off the ground. Situ Han secretly praised, truly worthy of Bibidong. Although his judgment in selecting men was somewhat lacking, his intelligence was still commendable. Absorbing the cultivation of soul beasts from the entire frozen forest, his mastery of cold ice has become one of his bloodline instincts. On the earth, the blessing of the power of cold ice was indeed an important reason for him to quickly kill the demon subduing Douluo. Since the secret was revealed by Bibidong, Situ Han slowly stood up from the pile of corpses, and a blood-red light shone in his hand. The light faded away, revealing a crimson 3-foot-long sword. This sword was undoubtedly Situ Han's martial soul, the bloodthirsty sword. At the moment when Situ Han's martial soul was released, a strong killing aura burst out from him. The clouds rolled up in the sky, reflecting the bleeding light. The frozen forest, which was already covered with corpses, became even more terrifying and instantly turned into a hell on earth. Bibidong exclaimed urgently, "Elders, let's take action together." The 7th soul ring on the 13-titled Douluo suddenly lit up. Faced with such a powerful Situ Han, everyone released their martial soul true bodies. The mysterious ice, which had existed for tens of thousands of years, suddenly shattered under the pressure of everyone. Within the frozen forest, the strongest is only a soul beast that has been in existence for tens of thousands of years. Due to the scarcity of the title Douluo, Situ Han faced the title Douluo for the first time since crossing to Douluo, and it was a one-time battle against 14 title Douluo. 10,000-year soul rings suddenly burst out with astonishing power, shattering with a loud bang. The innate soul ring had no skill, and Situ Han did not demand it. During the slaughter, he diligently studied the method of exploding the ring. With the support of endless soul ring energy, he not only succeeded in his research, but also further perfected the divine skill of exploding the ring. His explosive ring is like a soul skill, only half an hour later, the soul ring will condense again, and he can release it again, but all of this requires the support of his own soul power. The soul power unleashed by 10 100,000-year soul rings instantly increased Situ Han's aura by more than 10 times, 9 dragons roaring skystrike. Situ Han let out a loud shout and suddenly swung his bloodthirsty sword. With a flash of blood, the 9 blood dragons attacked in 9 different directions. With the warning from the vanguard of the demon subduing Douluo, the 9 titled Douluo who were attacked dared not be careless at all. Their 9th soul ring suddenly lit up and they fought back with all their might. Welfare period. Binding Chi. Playing the black and white king at the beginning, Nangong Hen travels through the deep blue star and awakens his acting system, playing the role of his eponymous golden light madman black and white Langjun Nangong Hen. However, the deep blue star suddenly descends on an adventure of luck. Select 2 people from each country and enter the Forbidden World to participate in the gas exploration, using a point system. The higher the ranking of the country, the more blessed it will be with luck and receive gifts from the forbidden world latitude. Nangong Hen and a silver-haired cool and gorgeous girl were selected to participate. That's it, a sick ghost and a white-haired girl. What kind of weird combination is this? Why do they replace us in battle? I am an ancient warrior, let me come. Facing the extremely dangerous forbidden world. Nangong Hen's martial arts skills and Bai Yuekue's spiritual sword showcase their strength towards the forbidden world. Everyone was shocked. Others are struggling to survive in the forbidden world, but do you all look like you've returned home? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Yongjie Tongxin Fruit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Yongjie Tongxin Fruit. The 5 titled Douluo, led by Bibidong, immediately attacked Situ Han. With the 99-level Extreme Douluo of Bibidong and the 98-level Golden Crocodile Douluo, even though the remaining 3 titled Douluo were only over 90 levels, the 5 of them teamed up to fight against Situ Han, who had no divine position, and surprisingly did not fall behind at all. Situ Han secretly said that something was not going well. If 14 titled Douluo fought together, he might really have a risk of falling. Divine position, if one condenses a killing god position, how could these dozen or so people be their opponents? Faced with the fierce soul skills exhibited by Bibidong and others, Situ Han didn't have much time to complain. In the midst of lightning and fire, Situ Han's bloodthirsty sword erupted with strong blood energy, mobilizing all his soul power inside. Situ Han forced Jean Crocodile Douluo and others to retreat with one sword, and turned to attack Bibidong, who had not released his martial soul. Golden Crocodile Douluo and Bibidong are the strongest soul masters among everyone. As long as they take the opportunity to inflict heavy damage on one, even if the remaining few join forces, they can still have the power to fight. Faced with Bibidong, who had not yet unleashed his martial soul, Situ Han could only make her the target of his attack. Feeling the power of Situ Han's sword, Bibidong secretly thought it was not good. Just as she decided to release her ugly martial soul, a mysterious thunder suddenly fell from the sky, targeting Situ Han. At the critical moment of life and death, Situ Han had no time to consider the reason for the thunder landing in this day. There is a threat from Bibidong in the front, and a pursuit from thunder in the back. Situ Hanyun exerted all his soul power and resisted Bibidong's papal scepter, holding her in his arms. Situ Han's idea is very simple. Even if he dies, this time he will still hold on to the beautiful woman and die. Although Bibidong was shocked by Situ Han's rudeness, Tianlei did not give her any time to react. With a loud roar, a purple thunderbolt fell instantly, breaking through Situ Han's bloody shield and causing the two of them to fall into the cracks in the dark ice that were torn apart by the aftermath of the battle. The energy of the sky thunder explosion caused heavy damage to everyone in the martial soul hall, and they could only watch Bibidong fall into the ice crevice under their feet. I don't know how long it took, but Situ Han regained a trace of consciousness. Looking at Bibidong in his arms, he felt a bit amused. Under the thunder, not only did he not die, but he also captured a pope. Just as he was about to get up and examine his surroundings, a heart-wrenching pain almost suffocated him. Gods, wait for me. Tianlei has always been under the control of the gods, and Situ Han has no favorable impression of the dual-standard gods. Now, since the gods have chosen to deal with themselves, from the day they step into the divine realm, they will surely use their bloodthirsty sword to devour all the gods in the divine realm. Situ Han reluctantly mobilized the remaining soul power in his body, recovered a slight injury, stood up, and looked at this peculiar ice cave. Without taking 2 steps, Situ Han suddenly realized that there was a small ice cave on the inside of this ice cave, shining brightly like a miracle. What surprised Situ Han was that the source of the light was a small tree with 2 orange fruits. Just a moment after entering the cave, Situ Han felt that the injuries inside his body had mostly healed. This fruit must be no weaker than the immortal herb, and the injuries inside his body have been saved. Situ Han picked 2 fruits one by one and walked out of the cave while eating. The medicinal power of Xianguo was terrifying. Just as he walked out of the cave, Situ Han felt that his injuries had completely improved, and even his own strength had slightly increased. At this moment, Bibidong had already woken up and looked at Situ Han, who had walked out of the cave with some confusion. He didn't know why this bloodthirsty person hadn't killed him. Situ Han handed the fruit in his hand to Bibidong and said, "This fruit can heal your injuries. You should eat it quickly. This man's strength far exceeds his own, and he doesn't need any effort to kill his current self. He definitely won't use the despicable method of poisoning." Bibidong hesitated for a second before taking the fruit and putting it into his mouth. After eating the fairy fruit, Bibidong felt a warm sensation in his body, and the injuries in his body began to quickly recover. "Why didn't you kill me? With your personality, you shouldn't be a soft-hearted person," Bibidong asked in confusion. Situ Han chuckled and said, killing soul beasts are just a means to enhance my strength. Now that my strength has reached a bottleneck, any more killing will not benefit me. Moreover, as a beautiful woman like you, I cannot bear to kill you. You." Bibidong took a few steps back, as if wary. The strength of Situ Han is terrifying. If he really wants to do something, he may have to die. Just as Situ Han was about to speak, Bibidong suddenly turned red and asked with a seductive expression, "What did you give me to eat? What's wrong with the fruit that recovers the injury?" Situ Han asked in confusion. Just as he finished speaking, Situ Han felt a sudden sensation of scorching heat emanating from his body. It was then that he understood why he couldn't eat wild fruits recklessly. Now that he was eating something wrong. The fruit eaten by the two is called Yongjie Tongxin fruit. The 2 people who ate it, whether male or female, would develop inexplicable feelings in their hearts and eventually fall deeply in love with each other. However, Situ Han and his wife's current state is only the first step towards falling in love. But if a person eats 2 fruits alone, they will become a heartless and beloved person, only caring about themselves and having no feelings for the world. This frozen forest can maintain a climate covered with ice and snow year-round. In addition to its unique geographical location, another reason is that this unique fruit is condensing the power of cold ice. When the golden wind and jade do meet, they surpass countless others in the world. 2 hours later, Situ Han looked at Bibidong with a hint of excitement and anger. Although he liked beautiful women, he didn't rely on such means. However, the situation has already occurred, and we can only find a way to remedy it. Situ Han took out a new piece of clothing from his ring and soul guide, and walked straight outside the cave. He picked up 2 fists of ice water and washed his face thoroughly, sobering himself up. At this moment, Bibidong inside the cave also woke up. The pain in her body made her understand what had happened, but the effect of the eternal unity fruit did not make her feel much disgusted. Bibidong changed his clothes and walked up to Situ Han, calmly saying, "You spared my life. I don't want to pursue this matter too much. After going out, I will announce your death. As long as you don't do something similar to slaughtering the entire forest, no one will come to you again." After speaking, he flew out without giving Situ Han any chance to speak. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Unprecedented, Swallowing 8 Immortal Grasses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Unprecedented, Swallowing 8 Immortal Grasses. Situ Han, who had been cold-blooded and ruthless for many years, felt the feeling of heartache for the first time. Looking at Bibi's figure moving far east, he inexplicably felt a hint of palpitations. However, he did not pursue it. Situ Han knew very well that this kind of thing needed some time to ease up, and reluctantly went to pester and fight, only pushing Bibidong further and further away. The two clearly underestimated the utility of the eternal unity fruit, and at this point, a new life had already begun to grow and develop in Bibidong's body. After calming down for half an hour, Situ Han confirmed a direction and prepared to go find the ice and fire Liangyi eyes guarded by Douluo. He, who is familiar with the entire plot, knows very well that whoever masters the fairy grass has the opportunity to become a god. He doesn't want those immortal herbs to fall into Tongxin's hands. According to the news discovered by Situ Han from the Tiando army, Snow Qinghe had just celebrated his 10th birthday, which means that at this time, Qian Renxue had already launched a stunt plan to become Snow Qinghe. It can be inferred from the age of Qian Renxue that Tongxin is only a little over 5 years old now. If Situ Han wanted to, he could take care of him at any time. However, the fall of Tianlei made him realize that he still needed to improve his strength first, so he decided to rob Douluo first. Half a month later, Situ Han arrived at the depths of the Sunset Forest, at the position of the Eyes of Ice and Fire. Feeling the arrival of an outsider, Douluo rushed over and stood on a high cliff, his 9 soul rings rhythmically moving up and down. He warned, "Who are you?" There are poison formations set up by him around the valley, and soul masters without level 70 strength will turn into pus and blood and die in a moment if touched. This man can almost break in silently, and his strength has far exceeded level 70. It is very likely that he is also a soul master with the title Douluo level, just like him. "Shh, quiet, I'm reminiscing about the effects of these immortal herbs," Situ Han said softly. Since he was promoted to the title Douluo, he was the first person to dare to speak to him like this. Douluo was furious, and the blue phosphorus snake emperor's martial soul immediately possessed him. The 9 soul rings on his body emitted a dazzling light. A fierce wave of air blew past, and Situ Han's thoughts were immediately interrupted. Situ Han slowly stood up from the edge of the ice and fire Liangyi spring, and 10 blood-red soul rings slowly emerged from his feet. "I said quiet, can't you hear me?" Situ Han let out a furious shout, and the originally gloomy sky immediately became stained with a layer of blood. The entire eyes of the ice and fire were filled with a bloody aura. Under the pressure of 100 levels of soul power, only the 91-level Douluo felt that his breathing was becoming increasingly difficult and he was about to die under the pressure of the incoming person. "Are you from the martial soul hall? Since you have such strength, if you want to kill or cut, just do it yourself." With 10 soul rings and 100-level soul master, Douluo could only imagine that only the strongest force on the continent, the martial soul hall, could have such a level soul master. He has a natural inclination for freedom and detests the constraints of his sect. A year ago, he was surrounded and killed by the 2 title Douluo from the martial soul hall, Ju and Guilai. Fortunately, he was saved by the Prince Xuexing at a critical moment, which allowed him to live to this day. Otherwise, he had already died a year ago. Now, the sickle of death was once again approaching his neck, and Douluo had no fear at all. "I said, quiet." Situ Han let out a loud shout, and the powerful pressure caused the eyes of the ice and fire Liangyi to vibrate violently. A brilliant light flashed through, and the bloodthirsty sword suddenly appeared in Situ Han's hand, shooting fiercely at Douluo's body. The blood-red light suddenly flashed, and the martial soul on Douluo's body melted every inch, and the cold ice condensed little by little. In an instant, Douluo had become an ice sculpture, and his bloodthirsty sword occasionally emitted a crimson light, devouring the pure blood inside Douluo's body. Without the disturbance of Douluo, Situ Han carefully recalled the effects of the immortal grass. It had been quite some time since he finished watching Douluo. He had to recall the medicinal effects of these peerless immortal grass carefully. 15 minutes later, the corner of Situ Han's mouth slightly raised, and he remembered everything. Looking at the fairy grass in the garden, Situ Han's eyes were filled with greedy desires. He had a bold idea, which was to devour most of the fairy grass. The so-called gluttony that cannot be chewed is just a self-consolation of the user's low realm. As a level 100 soul master, Situ Han, the fairy grass in the garden is a great tonic for him. Situ Han's movements were very fast. He first took the least effective 9-grade purple mushroom, and then he took the 8-petal fairy orchid, the most gentle medicinal plant among many fairy herbs. Next, Situ Han took the miraculous Rong Tong Tian chrysanthemum, which was claimed to be able to cultivate the invincibility of diamond. After eating 3 immortal herbs in a row, Situ Han suddenly felt the blood in his body start to churn, but he did not stop his crazy behavior, but accelerated his movements. His next target was Narcissus Jade Flesh Bone and Chilua Tulip. After eating 2 immortal herbs, Situ Han couldn't control the churning blood in his body and sprayed out a mouthful of fresh blood. Situ Han gritted his teeth and walked to the side of Chicken Crown Phoenix Sunflower and watching through autumn water dew. While eating Chicken Crown Phoenix Sunflower fairy grass, he dripped the medicinal liquid from watching through autumn water dew into his own eyes. After finishing all of this, he finally turned his gaze to the most important ones, the octagonal xianbing grass and the flame apricot jiaoshu. Situ Han endured the intense pain in his body, and his 2 soul powers turned in 2 different directions. He immediately uprooted the 2 immortal grass plants. Situ Han took 3 bites and swallowed the immortal grass in 2, immediately rushing towards the ice and fire Liangyi eyes. Douluo, who was trapped in the cold ice, could only watch Situ Han's almost suicidal actions, taking care of the immortal grass that had been under his care for decades. Just like this, he was devoured by a hungry wolf, and his heart was dripping with blood. At this moment, Situ Han, who was in the center of the spring, was also feeling uncomfortable. On the one hand, some of the medicinal powers of the immortal herbs were strengthening his physical body, while others were enhancing his soul power. He was torn apart by 2 huge forces, and his whole body was on the verge of collapse. On the other hand, after consuming the medicinal power of 8 immortal herbs in one go, his mortal body has reached the limit it can bear. However, he did not fall down at this point. Everything comes at a cost, and in order to become stronger, even if he paid the price of his life, Situ Han was willing. If he crossed the line, he could not stand at the top of the world, nor could he awaken the power of the world. He lay drunk on the knees of a beautiful woman. Situ Han simply died. Moreover, Situ Han did not blindly devour immortal grass, but rather planned to do so. The medicinal effect of Jiupin Ziji was the smallest, and Situ Han chose to swallow it first. The 8-petal xianlan was the mildest, so Situ Han then ate it again. After eating 2 xianqiao plants that strengthen meridians, Situ Han once again swallowed the Qi Rong Tong Tian chrysanthemum that can strengthen the body. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Bibidong's Pregnancy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Bibidong's pregnancy. Following that were the Narcissus Jade Flesh Bones and Chilua Tulips, which greatly increased soul power. The Chicken Crown Phoenix Sunflower has a purifying effect on soul power. After eating it, it can purify and refine the overall fairy herb power. Looking through the autumn, Shuelu is the only fairy herb that can enhance spiritual power. Therefore, Situ Han also put it together with the Chicken Crown Phoenix Sunflower. Finally, and most importantly, the octagonal dark ice grass and the flame apricot delicate sparse were placed in the final position by Situ Han due to their strict usage. After eating these 2 immortal herbs, Situ Han slowed down for 2 seconds before jumping into the eyes of the ice and fire balance. By the action of spring water, the magnificent medicinal power in the body is refined. After an hour, Situ Han suddenly felt the medicinal power in his body gradually easing. With the help of many immortal herbs, his body, meridians, spiritual power, and soul power had been greatly improved, and this improvement continued. 2 hours later, Situ Han regained control of his internal condition and began to independently control the operation of his soul power. After 3 hours, Situ Han absorbed most of the medicinal power, and his own strength improved significantly compared to before coming here. Situ Han slowly opened his eyes and looked at the night sky, which was already full of stars. Situ Han suddenly jumped out of the eyes of the ice and fire Liangyi and flew to the side of Douluo, pulling out his bloodthirsty sword. Although Situ Han made a heavy move, he had no intention of killing Douluo. As a soul master at the level of Douluo, he was consumed with blood by Situ Han's bloodthirsty sword for 6 hours, and his eyes were lifeless. If Situ Han were any later, Douluo would probably become the second most frustrated Douluo to die. One of them was the demon-slaying Douluo, who was beaten into ice shards by Situ Han due to being too noisy. The bloodthirsty sword was pulled out, and the mysterious ice on Douluo's body was instantly dissolved. He collapsed to the ground and said weakly to Situ Han, "Who are you, exactly? There's so much nonsense." Situ Han's heart twitched as 2 Xianbing jade bottles condensed in front of Douluo's face. Situ Han flipped his palm and 2 drops of golden blood were forced out, accurately dripping into the Xianbing jade bottle. The blood inside the jade bottle can dissolve the snake venom on you and your tribe. I want to requisition these ice and fire eyes. A bad old man is certainly not worth Situ Han's heart softening. He is for Douluo, the granddaughter of Douluo, the charming purple-haired girl. Douluo is deeply poisoned, even if his blood contains the medicinal power of 8 immortal herbs, it can only relieve more than half of it. In the future, in his spare time, he will teach Douluo to force some residual toxins into his soul bone, and he will be completely saved. And Douluo, the granddaughter of Douluo, is still slightly poisoned. With the help of the medicine, she not only clears all the snake venom in her body, but also enhances her own talent. She will never look up to Yu Tianheng, whose cultivation is far lower than her own. Her true destiny will only be one. After leaving the jade bottle behind, Situ Han ignored Douluo and jumped down the high cliff, returning to the ice and fire Yongjie eyes and beginning to meditate and practice. He has absorbed the medicinal power of many immortal herbs, so he needs to fully understand and master them. After he has prepared everything, the next step he needs to take is to eliminate the 2 ultimate evils, Tang San and Tang Hao. In his heart, it would be better for Tang San, the double-standard dog, to die. For the first time, Xiaowu was as pure as a blank sheet of paper, just a little girl spoiled at home. However, due to her extreme personality flaw, Tang San's bad personality was not only uncorrected, but also magnified without scale. In the end, she lived as a little girl who only knew how to curse. With this, Situ Han did not want Tang San to live on his 6th birthday. Douluo picked up the cold ice jade bottle and felt the vigorous medicinal power inside. He knew that Situ Han must not have deceived him, because with Situ Han's strength, killing him did not require such troublesome means. 6 months later, in the papal palace. Douluo, the leader of Qiandao Flow, looked coldly at Bibidong, whose lower abdomen was clearly bulging. He could no longer bear this vicious woman. At that time, due to Qianrengshu's young age and Bibidong's authority in the martial soul hall, he could only endure his son's death with force. However, now, as the Pope, Bibidong has secretly fallen in love with an unknown wild man and is pregnant with a wild seed. Qiandao Lu knows that his chance to turn things around has come. The Hall of Martial Souls will never allow a woman with bad deeds to continue serving as their Pope, and he can also take this opportunity to avenge his own son. Bibidong, now all the elders and offerings are standing on my side. You don't have any chance anymore, let's take it, said Qiandao Lu coldly. The unique maternal nature of women makes Bibidong have no intention of surrendering, because once surrendering, there is only a dead end waiting for her and her child. The turtle has been enshrined in the temple for 10 years, and when it comes out of the mountain again, do you think this is still the martial soul hall from 10 years ago, and I am still the Bibidong from 10 years ago? Even though he was trapped in a state of siege, Bibidong, who had been in the position of Pope for 10 years, remained unstoppable in his power. Qiandao Lu laughed heartily and said, faced with more than a dozen titled Douluo, even if they are as strong as slaughtering the entire blood demon in the frozen forest, they will only have the fate of falling. Can you still surpass that blood demon in terms of strength compared to Bibidong? Seeing the tragic scene of soul masters and soul beasts in the frozen forest being drained of blood, the title Douluo, who returned alive, gave Situ Han a name of blood demon. Upon hearing those two words, Bibidong recalled the cave, the man who had captured him but did not kill him, but instead had sex with him and became pregnant. After being stunned for a second, Bibidong finally looked at the Qiandao Lu and others below the high platform, who had once been loyal to her subordinates. At this point, she can only destroy it with her own hands. As early as she realized she was pregnant, she thought of the situation today, so she had already buried a large amount of explosive materials in His Highness the Pope. Unexpectedly, this day would come so soon. The purple light flickered, and Bibidong instantly completed the possession of his martial soul. The 9th soul ring on his body suddenly lit up, and the 9th undead soul skill was immediately activated. At the same time, Bibidong also detonated the entire papal palace and escaped. The sudden change caught Qian Daolu and others off guard. Under the fierce airflow, Qian Jun Douluo died instantly and followed his brother's demon slaying Douluo. The remaining several titled Douluo also suffered varying degrees of heavy damage. The dust and smoke dissipated, and Qian Daolu shouted angrily, "The whole continent has issued a pursuit order. The reputation of the Martial Soul Hall cannot be tarnished by anyone. I will use Bibidong's blood to rename the Martial Soul Hall." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Timely Arrival. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Timely Arrival. With the influence of the Martial Soul Hall, almost everyone on the entire continent learned of the news of Pope Bibidong's expulsion within a day, including Situ Han, who was heading to the Holy Soul Village to prepare for the massacre of Tongxin and Tanghao. In half a year, the power of many immortal herbs was integrated, and Situ Han's murderous aura was restrained, making him warm as jade. Coupled with his sharp and angular face, he perfectly matched his name. He was dressed in a black ancient costume, truly like a prince from a noble family. Situ Han, who had already arrived at Notting City, secretly speculated upon hearing this news, Bibidong is actually pregnant. With her proud personality, the child in her belly must be mine. Looking at the Holy Soul Village where Tang San was located, Situ Han said helplessly, "Tang San, Tang Hao, when I save Bibidong, I will definitely turn back and take your dog's life." Bibidong is his own woman, and Situ Han must be able to save her. Besides, she is still pregnant with her own child, so he gave up going to Holy Soul Village on the way. Even if he could flip his hand and kill Tang San and his son, because he couldn't afford to delay a second now, he wouldn't dare to gamble on the lives of his wife and children. Situ Han, who was originally rushing towards the Holy Soul Village, suddenly changed his direction and rushed to the Martial Soul City at the fastest speed. 3 days later, Bibidong, covered in injuries, fled to the edge of the Star Forest. Qian Daolu mobilized the power of the entire Martial Soul Hall to pursue her. She was found by the Soul Masters in several secret places in the city, and the search inside the city became increasingly tight. Even though there were still many hiding places, Bibidong dared not stay in the city and could only desperately escape to the Star Do Forest. Only by entering the dense forest can she make the Soul Masters of the Martial Soul Hall lose their geographical advantages, break free from the blockade of the Martial Soul Hall, and have a chance to survive. However, since the moment she took the initiative to appear, the people in the Martial Soul Hall have been chasing her like a dog's skin ointment, killing her wave after wave. However, the number of people chasing her has not decreased at all, but has increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Suddenly, a golden light shone over the entire night sky, and the healed thousand flows led the title Douluo of the entire Martial Soul Hall to rush over in time. Bibidong, suffer to death. The continuous battles exhausted Bibidong's soul power inside her body. Faced with the pursuit of more than a dozen titled Douluo and thousands of soul masters, she knew she had reached a dead end. Bibidong couldn't bear to touch his protruding belly and said with some sadness, "Child, I'm sorry, Mom doesn't have the ability to protect you." Fate is always bumpy, but what never changes is Bibidong's loving heart at that moment. Even if it wasn't Qianrengshu who was born with her beloved, she could have sacrificed her life to save her, with the effect of eternal unity. Bibidong had already developed a trace of love for Situ Han, and for his child in his womb. Bibidong truly felt a pain, a heart-wrenching pain about to lose his son. Qiandao Lu showed no mercy at all, and a soul ring suddenly lit up on his body. An angel holy sword shot fiercely towards Bibidong. At the moment of life and death, Situ Han descended from the sky, holding Bibidong in his arms and unleashing an infinite power behind him. Under this pressure, the thousands of angelic holy swords instantly turned into golden powder. You, how could it be you? What are you doing? Feeling familiar embrace and an immense sense of security, Bibidong was not addicted to it. She was well aware of the danger around her and couldn't help but scold. Two opposite sexes who have eaten the fruit of eternal unity will unconsciously fall in love with each other. Situ Han risked his life to come and save her. Although Bibidong was deeply moved, she was more worried. There were thousands of soul saints and more than a dozen titled Douluo around now, among which Qiandao Lu had reached level 99, only one level lower than Situ Han. With the advantage of the number of people, Situ Han's own safety could not be guaranteed. If he wanted to save her, he would probably end up being buried with her and their children on the outskirts of this starry forest. Situ Han looked at Bibidong, whose face was slightly stained with blood. Suddenly, his heart felt like he had been pierced by a sword. He gently wiped away the blood stains on Bibidong's face and said softly, "You and the child are here. If I want to take you away, the only martial soul hall can't stop me." Although Situ Han's overall temperament and clothing had changed, his terror had been deeply imprinted in the minds of the several titled Douluo who had participated in the demon-slaying operation. In an instant, everyone still recognized him, and they all trembled and pointed at Situ Han, saying, "Blood, blood demon, you are still alive." "What, he's a blood demon? A young man in his 20s. Qiandao Lu couldn't help but ask in a voice. Slaughtered the entire frozen forest and wiped out the 100,000 troops of the Heavenly Do Empire's blood demons. No one on the whole continent knew about them, but except for those who were operating with Bibidong, many people, like Qiandao Lu, had no idea about the appearance and age of the blood demons. Most people thought it was a deep-seated monster who had been practicing for many years, but they didn't expect it to be a young man in his 20s. The soul power within Qiandao fluid is running at high speed, and his eyes are full of vigilance. At the same time, he loudly said, "Bibidong, I didn't expect you to have been in cahoots with evil spirits for a long time. I believe your child inside must be the child of this blood demon. Today, my martial soul hall will eliminate the two evils of you for the mainland." Situ Han compared and said, "Stay here and see how I can get rid of these soul masters in the martial soul hall. I won't let anyone who dares to harm you or our children go." A sparkling blue light lit up, and Situ Han instantly had an extra armor on his body, which was his soul bone armor, the Ice and Snow Emperor suit. 10 100,000 level soul rings lit up simultaneously, and in an instant, Situ Han's body erupted with infinite power. Soul masters below the Douluo level immediately felt as if they were about to suffocate. Over a dozen titled Douluo from Qiandao Flow erupted with their own pressure to resist Situ Han, while shouting to the soul masters, "Quickly form in formation." The thousands of soul masters who have come here have a soul power level of 70 or above, all of whom are elite soul masters in the martial soul hall. Under the command of Qiandao Lu, all soul masters erupt their martial souls in a neat and uniform manner. The soul power of the thousands of soul masters gathers together, and their power is already enough to compete with Situ Han. After practicing for half a year in the Ice and Fire Liangyi Eyes, Situ Han integrated the medicinal powers of 8 immortal herbs, and his strength has been greatly improved compared to that in the Ice Sealing Forest. However, he did not gain the power of faith or the fusion of divine qualities, and ultimately remained at the mortal level. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Mutual Injury. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Mutual injury. If these people from the hard and martial soul hall were to fight fiercely, he also had a risk of falling. Therefore, Situ Han prepared to take them away in a wave, making it impossible for them to unite and form a destructive force against him. The blood is so dark. With a low cry from Situ Han, the bloodthirsty sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The originally gloomy sky was immediately invaded by blood, and in an instant, everyone in the martial soul hall was shrouded in the blood mist, eroded by it. The people in the martial soul hall were instantly stirred up in their violent and killing emotions, and some soul masters with poor willpower had already begun to attack their teammates beside them. The entire Soul Saint team broke through without breaking through. Blowing the night wind with a bloody smell, Situ Han enjoyed it very much. The bloodthirsty sword in his hand seemed to come to life, and the crimson light on the sword body kept flashing, absorbing the blood of the soul master who had died in his own hands. Situ Han lightly wiped the sword body and instantly inputted 90% of his soul power into it, unleashing a stunning sword. 100-meter-long sword energy, like the sickle of the god of death, constantly reaped the life of the soul master. In just one breath, the soul master who was still in the melee suffered more than half of the casualties. In this 1 or 2 seconds, only a dozen remaining soldiers and defeated generals managed to survive. The sword energy absorbed the energy contained in the blood of the soul masters, and its power skyrocketed again, chopping towards the dozen or so tidal Douluo in mid-air at an extremely fast speed. Qiandao never expected the great situation to be overturned. Faced with Situ Han's almost life-threatening blow, he had no ability to survive under this sword. He could only pretend to be calm and shout at the dozen or so tidal Douluo around him, "If you want to survive, provide me with soul power." Everyone also knew their own strength. Faced with a sword that was almost miraculous, they could only agree with the decision of the strongest in the team now, and they all unreservedly delivered their soul power to Qiandao. Having received a large amount of soul power support, the power on Qiandao's body has instantly increased exponentially. Apart from only having 9 soul rings on his body, he already has everything that a level 100 soul master possesses. The 7th soul ring on Qiandao's body suddenly lit up, and his martial soul was instantly activated. The angelic realm enveloped him, purifying Situ Han's blood and evil energy. Qiandao gathered all his soul power and produced dozens of golden long swords that were more than 10 meters long, piercing Situ Han's sword energy with a loud roar. A soul master who has reached his level no longer values soul rings and soul skills. His grasp of martial souls has been elevated to the realm of transformation, and a casual attack is comparable to the 5th or even 6th soul skill of an ordinary tidal Douluo. With the unity of everyone in the martial soul hall, in order to survive, Qiandao showcased the most powerful soul skill of his life. The collision of golden and blood sword chi caused a fierce wave of energy. The dozen or so soul masters who survived could only desperately use their soul power to resist. However, the 2 major sword moves already possessed the power of slaying gods, which was beyond the ability of a small soul master of over 70 levels to resist. In an instant, it turned into a pool of blood and merged into Situ Han's sword chi. At this moment, Bibidong, not far behind Situ Han, also did not escape the fate of being swept by energy. After days of pursuit, Bibidong's soul power inside her body has almost dried up. Although she is a soul master at the level of Douluo, with much higher strength than the dozen soul saints, she lacks the support of soul power. Faced with this level of energy impact, she does not have much impact. However, for the sake of her unborn child, she must survive. In the midst of lightning and flint, Bibidong mobilized his last trace of soul power and ignited the seeds of 16 soul rings within his body. Bibidong has 2 martial souls. The first martial soul has reached the level of tidal Douluo, but since she has not found a suitable soul ring yet, she has a total of 16 soul rings. To advance, a soul master must absorb soul rings. After fusing soul rings, a soul ring seed will be left in their body. After the Soul Master releases the Soul Ring skill, as long as the Soul Ring energy is replenished in time, the Soul Ring can be restored. Bibidong's move, although possessing soul power that can sustain her life, once the energy inside the Soul Ring seed is depleted, her overall cultivation is also destroyed. Situ Han never expected that the ambitious Pope Bibidong would be forced into such a miserable situation at the moment he arrived. Although he wanted to take action to save Bibidong from the energy storm, even the slightest flaw in the expert showdown could be easily destroyed by the other side at any time. Now is the critical moment for him to compete with Douluo. He cannot be distracted to save Bibidong. Once he suffers a serious injury, the only outcome waiting for him and Bibidong is death. All he can do is to end this battle as soon as possible. Situ Han instantly threw his bloodthirsty sword in front of him, unleashing the remaining 10% of his soul power. The bloodthirsty sword shot out like a bloody meteor. The confrontation with Situ Han's sword energy has already exhausted the minds of Douluo and others. Faced with Situ Han's desperate sword, Douluo and others dare not reserve any more. The various title Douluo have injected the remaining soul power into Douluo. After gaining the soul power of everyone, the power of Douluo surged again, and the holy light shone on the earth. Several angel holy swords around him, inspired by their soul power, condensed into a sword of judgment, vowing to fight to the death with Situ Han. With the amplification of the bloodthirsty sword, the sword energy power unleashed by Situ Han was once again enhanced, faintly surpassing the attack of Douluo. With a loud bang, a dazzling white light flashed past, and a scream sounded, indicating the end of this shocking battle. Situ Han's bloodthirsty sword pierced through the heart of Douluo. The angelic martial soul on Douluo's body instantly dimmed, and he was like a winged angel slowly falling from mid-air. The title Douluo of the martial soul hall, whose soul power was almost exhausted, never imagined that he and others would be defeated, and that they would be defeated so thoroughly. To their surprise, Situ Han, who had created countless killing jobs, took the opportunity to eliminate them all. Instead, he put away his martial soul and turned around, holding Bibidong, who was bleeding incessantly from the corner of his mouth, into the star forest. After running for 5 minutes, Situ Han couldn't bear it anymore. A mouthful of blood sprayed out and he fell down from the treetop. At the last moment, Situ Han endured the pain in his body and reluctantly held Bibidong in his arms. Gathering the power of all the soul masters in the martial soul hall, although Douluo was defeated, he also dealt a heavy blow to his martial soul. At the moment of collecting the sword, Situ Han could clearly see the cracks on the sword body. If it weren't for him being 100-level soul master, he might have died there at that time. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Situ Han's bottom card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Situ Han's bottom card. If it weren't for this kind of injury, how could he have easily let go of the people in the martial soul hall, even though Douluo had died? Unfortunately, what he didn't know was that, far away from the outskirts of the star forest, Douluo, who should have died, mysteriously climbed up from the ground. Ahem, if it weren't for my heart position being different from that of an ordinary person, I would really have been buried in the hands of a younger generation this time, said Douluo as he gazed at the starry forest. The title Douluo of the martial soul hall was surprised to see Douluo dead and resurrected. After confirming that it was Douluo's own consciousness, they gradually approached and said, offering to Lord, what should we do now? Douluo reluctantly stood up and said, there are countless powerful soul beasts in the Star Do forest. Pursuing them further will only consume the strength of my martial soul hall. Just now, I could feel that the blood demon himself was also injured quite lightly. Let the soul beasts in the Star Do forest help us solve him. Let's return to the martial soul city and announce the death of Bibidong. Douluo couldn't help but say, now teach. Realizing that he was wrong, he immediately changed his mind. Now Bibidong has escaped into the star forest, and his life and death are uncertain. Is it too urgent to announce Bibidong's death like this? Noticing Ju Douluo's tone, although Qian Dao Lu was resentful of the subconscious way he called Bidong, he could only hold back his anger as his strength was almost exhausted and wait for his injury to improve before clearing away the remaining sins left by Bidong. Bibidong's injuries were not lighter than those of the blood demon. As he entered the Star Forest, which was the cemetery he had chosen for himself, Elder Ju was worried too much. Chrysanthemum Douluo didn't say much, he could only gaze deeply at the forest. The Pope, whom he had followed for 10 years, would have ended up like this. Even a Pope would have ended up like this. If one day he fails to fulfill his duties or does something wrong, what would happen to him? He dared not think, nor did he want to think, and silently turned around to follow Qian Dao Lu and others away. Situ Han looked at Bibidong, who had fainted in his arms. At this moment, his soul power had dried up and the extent of his injuries could not be determined. However, the only thing he knew was that Bibidong was severely injured. The martial soul is damaged and the soul power is difficult to recover. Situ Han can only use the most foolish and desperate method to cure Bibidong. I saw Situ Han's finger as a sword, cutting through his wrist. A strand of golden blood flowed out of his wrist. Situ Han gently broke open Bibidong's jade lips, allowing the blood to flow into her mouth. As the blood was swallowed by Bibidong, the pale face finally had a hint of vitality, and Situ Han suddenly knew that he had used the right method. The medicinal power of the 8 immortal herbs has fused with his entire body's blood, and his blood itself is a healing artifact. A few minutes later, Bibidong gradually woke up and saw a wrist with occasional golden blood flowing out of her mouth. She knew it was Situ Han who saved her, and looked up at Situ Han, whose face was haggard due to excessive blood loss. Bibidong's nose turned sour, and tears welled up in his eyes as he said, "You shouldn't have saved me. There are many dangers in the Star Do Forest, and if you preserve your strength, you will definitely have a chance of survival. Now that you have lost most of your strength, saving a useless person with a broken martial soul, we may all have to bury ourselves in this forest." Situ Han straightened Bibidong's messy hair and said softly, "What's the point of living alone in this world without you and your child? One of their martial souls is shattered, and the other is damaged. If Situ Han were just a soul master, facing such a situation would only lead to a dead end. However, he is not only a soul master, but also a killer proficient in various hot weapons. During the 6 months spent in the ice and fire Liangyi Eyes, Douluo was asked to collect materials. At this time, there were 5 god-killing grenades lying in his soul guide, each of which had a power equivalent to 3 kilograms of TNT. This was the most powerful grenade developed by the organization he belonged to in his previous life, and it was also the weapon he was most familiar with. This was his trump card for daring to enter the Star Forest in the event of being severely injured. Even a soul beast that has been cultivated for 100,000 years, its spiritual intelligence is not as high as that of humans. If there is really a soul beast in this forest that he cannot solve now, he doesn't mind giving that soul beast a few to let it taste the taste of explosion. Bibidong leaned against Situ Han's embrace. Although she was in a forest where soul beasts would occasionally appear, she did not feel any fear because at this moment, she had a man willing to give up his life for her, and she truly fell in love with Situ Han. Looking back on the first half of her life, the men she met were all fickle and ungrateful. Bibidong no longer had any illusions about men as creatures, but unexpectedly, a demon-slaying operation led her to meet her true love. From this moment on, the Pope has passed away with the wind, leaving only a little woman named Bibidong in this world. Their relationship rapidly heated up. After a moment of enchantment, Bibidong's breathing was rapid as he pushed Situ Han away. A silver thread quickly broke, and Bibidong's seductive eyes were like silk, saying, don't do this, you're crushing the child." Looking at Bibidong with a flushed face, Situ Han couldn't help but secretly feel proud. This Douluo continent is really suitable for him, and now he has only taken one Bibidong. If he had taken all the beautiful women and created his own divine position to live forever, then his journey would not have been too enjoyable. However, the prerequisite for all of this is still strength. Situ Han stood up and said a few words to her, asking her to sit aside for a moment. He wanted to start recovering from his injuries, and then he took a lot of herbs from the soul guide to restore chi, blood, and soul power. Bibidong is pregnant, and apart from her already mild medicinal blood, Situ Han dare not let her take medicine at will. However, he himself was no longer limited in this area. He took many healing herbs plundered from the ice and fire Yongjie eyes, took them in large gulps, and quickly entered a meditative state to restore his soul power and lost blood. Bibidong's martial soul is shattered, and he cannot recover. This matter can only be resolved after he truly becomes a god, and his own shattered martial soul also needs to be ensured to be absolutely safe before he can calm down and think carefully. Half an hour later, with the assistance of numerous herbs with extraordinary medicinal powers, Situ Han's soul power had been fully restored and his blood had been mostly restored. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Dark Demons, Evil Gods, and Tigers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Dark Demons, Evil Gods, and Tigers. Although the martial soul cannot be used temporarily, and the armor-breaking soul bone skills attached to the entire set of soul bones have also lost their effectiveness, with the vast soul power, facing ordinary soul beasts, self-protection is still not a problem. Just as Situ Han stood up, a little girl in pink suddenly jumped out of the deep forest. The girl's face was covered in blood stains, with multiple injuries on her body, but her speed was incredibly fast. In just a few breaths, she had already arrived near Situ Han and the others. Situ Han instantly recognized the person, and the only little girl who could walk through the starry forest like this could be Xiao Wu. But what he couldn't figure out was that Xiao Wu lives in Xinghu. How could she come here? Situ Han jumped up and prepared to stop Xiao Wu to ask for clarification. Xiao Wu, who looked flustered, didn't notice the sudden appearance of Situ Han in front of her and directly bumped into Situ Han's body. Xiao Wu rubbed her forehead with some pain, looked up at the man who suddenly appeared in front of her, and murmured in a puzzled low voice, "Humans. This is already the depths of the starry forest, with few people visiting, only powerful soul beasts. How could humans appear here?" However, Xiao Wu didn't think much. At this moment, her mother was struggling with the tiger fighting, and she had to hurry back to Xinghu to ask Daming and Erming to come and help. "There is a powerful tiger-shaped soul beast behind me, and my mother is fighting against it. Run away quickly. With your strength, you may not be its opponent, so don't bury your life in vain here." Reminded Situ Han, Xiao Wu was about to run towards the Star Lake again. From Xiao Wu's words, Situ Han received two pieces of information. 1. Xiao Wu's mother did not die. 2. Xiao Wu's mother is battling a tiger-like soul beast. According to Situ Han's understanding, Xiao Wu's mother would become Bibidong's soul ring, but she is still alive. Situ Han couldn't figure out the secrets behind it for a while and didn't plan to think deeply. For the tiger-like soul beasts in the Star Do forest, Situ Han only knows one, the dark demon evil god tiger, a soul beast that enhances cultivation by devouring soul beasts or soul master soul power. Xiao Wu's mother has been transformed for many years, with her own level ranging from level 60 to level 70. She can only think of the soul beast that makes her feel exhausted and causes her daughter to flee. As they spoke, a huge black tiger with wings flew over from the sky. Feeling a familiar soul power, Xiao Wu couldn't help but turn back and looked at the tiger in the sky with tears streaming down her face. Mom, she was eaten by this tiger," she said. What Situ Han didn't know was that due to his appearance, Bibidong did not lead Zhu and Gue Douluo to venture deep into the Star Do forest in order to preserve the number of Douluo titled in the Martial Soul Hall. Instead, he hunted down a soul beast that had been around for 60,000 years as his 9th soul ring. As a result, Xiao Wu's mother had never seen Bibidong before and luckily survived. Unfortunately, her fate clearly did not change much as a result, only from being killed by Bibidong to being devoured by the Dark Demon Tiger. Dark Demon Evil God Tiger. Seeing the tiger in the air, Bibidong instantly recognized the soul beast from his own mind's knowledge. Although her cultivation has declined, her own insights have not disappeared. As a powerful organization that has been passed down for a long time, the Martial Soul Hall collects the most complete information on the entire continent. A large part of the reason why Yu Xiaojiang was able to break through the name of a master is because he obtained information from two powerful organizations, the Martial Soul Hall and the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, which have a strong foundation. Otherwise, with his useless strength, how could he possibly come into contact with information about high-level soul masters and 10,000 grade other soul beasts? Upon hearing his wife's voice, Situ Han picked up Xiao Wu and instantly came to Bibidong's side. The soul power on his body condensed, isolating the breath of the three of him. Bibidong looked at the adorable little dance in Situ Han's arms and couldn't help but say, "There is so much danger in this starry forest. How could there be a little girl, and I don't know what her parents are thinking." Situ Han comforted and gently patted Xiaowu's back, who was sobbing incessantly in his arms. Only then did he compare with Beidong and say, her parents probably died in the mouth of that tiger, which made her flee alone in the forest. Bibidong couldn't help but take Xiaowu into his arms and said, "What a pitiful child. If our strength hadn't been damaged, it would have been easy to avenge their parents by dealing with this 20,000-year-old dark demon evil god tiger. But now, my martial soul has been completely shattered and my own cultivation has been exhausted. Your martial soul has also been damaged and cannot be used for the time being. I'm afraid it's not a match for this demon tiger." Situ Han glanced at Bibidong with some surprise. After losing his cultivation, Bibidong was able to see the age of the dark demon evil god tiger, clearly through his accumulated knowledge over the years. Now Tongxin is only over 5 years old, and this dark demon tiger has already devoured his cultivation to 20,000 grades. He is truly a unique soul beast, and now he has devoured Xiao Wu's mother. If given time, he is afraid that this evil tiger will really be invincible. It is still necessary to take advantage of its young wings to eliminate it. Situ Han touched the ring on his finger and realized that there were 5 god-killing grenades inside his soul guide. As long as he found the right opportunity, he would definitely be able to eliminate this eerie dark demon and evil god tiger. But even if my martial soul is damaged, it's just a piece of cake to eliminate this soul beast with just soul power, even if it's another soul beast in the 20,000 grade. After speaking, Situ Han was ready to take action against the dark demon evil god tiger. However, Bibidong intervened and stopped Situ Han, explaining, "The dark demon evil god tiger is different from ordinary soul beasts. I have seen information about it in ancient books of the Martial Soul Hall. Legend has it that the evil god descended on a white tiger, causing it to mutate and transforming its original light attribute into a dark attribute, giving birth to black wings representing corruption, as well as the evil god hook resembling a scorpion tail. A top-level soul beast like this is capable of challenging opponents who are 10 times older than itself. Therefore, its current strength is comparable to that of a soul beast that has been around for 200,000 years. This is unparalleled in the entire continent, and with your strength, it may be too dangerous to defeat it." As they spoke, the power of the dark demon tiger, who couldn't find any trace of Xiaowu, surged again and had advanced to the level of 30,000 years of cultivation. Situ Han thought to himself that he was not doing well. The dark demon and evil god tiger began to digest the soul power of Xiaowu's mother in his body. "Donger, the strength of this evil tiger has advanced again. We need to take action to eliminate it as soon as possible. Don't worry, I have the ability to eliminate it." Looking at Situ Han's firm gaze, Bibidong didn't say anything more. She knew very well that once this soul beast grew up, the only fate waiting for the creatures on this continent was to be devoured by it. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. God-killing hand thunder showcases its might. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 9. God-killing hand thunder showcases its might. Upon hearing Situ Han's words, Xiaowu stopped crying and turned to look at the human she had seen for the first time, who was also a soul beast. She was well aware of the strength of this dark demon evil god tiger. Even with two soul beasts, the Great Ming and the Two Ming, possessing top-notch bloodlines, in order to defeat this dark demon evil god tiger, they may have to work together. Nowadays, in this forest, the individual strength of the dark demon evil god tiger is definitely at the top of the pyramid. Any soul beast relying solely on its own strength is never its opponent. This human appears to be in his early 20s, why do he have such confidence? Situ Han pinched the technique in his hand, and his blood-colored soul power enveloped him all around. Now with his soul power as support, the dark demon evil god tiger cannot detect them, but he must leave. His soul power dissipates, and he can be fearless of its intimidation. However, Bibidong and Xiaowu do not have their own strong strength, and they still need to set up a secret formation in advance. Situ Han, who had been staying in the Eyes of Ice and Fire for half a year, followed Douluo to learn how to use his own soul power to arrange formation techniques. Douluo's farewell was a bit lacking, but the use of his highly toxic soul power in the poison array set up near the Ice and Fire Two Eyes still has its merits. At least ordinary soul beasts and level 70 soul masters cannot approach. After confirming that the formation could last for more than 10 minutes, Situ Han finally broke out of the formation and fought against the dark demon evil god tiger. Feeling the unfamiliar aura of life, the dark demon and evil god tiger immediately realized that his wings flickered and he came 20 meters away from the towering tree where Situ Han was standing. Approaching, the dark demon tiger couldn't help but roar excitedly. Today is really its lucky day. It has just devoured a 100,000-year-old transformed soul beast and encountered a soul master with soul power energy far exceeding that of a 100,000-year-old soul beast. As long as it devours this soul master again, it can be certain that it will have no opponents in this star forest in the future. Even the two 100,000-year-old ancient monsters in the star lake will only be its advanced nourishment. As Situ Han watched the massive dark demon evil god tiger approaching, his heart was filled with vigilance. He was well aware of the strength of the dark demon evil god tiger, with its extremely high spiritual intelligence and eerie soul skills. Even when his martial soul was not damaged, he dared not show any carelessness when facing this mysterious soul beast. However, now he has decided to take action, largely due to the 5 god-killing grenades lying quietly inside his soul guide. Killer grenades, but his organization's latest research results show that each grenade has a power comparable to 3 kilograms of TNT. According to Situ Han's estimation, 1 grenade is enough to kill a tidal Douluo, and even gods may die under the killing god grenade. If it weren't for this material being extremely difficult to find, in order to have sufficient means of self-protection in the star forest, when he defeated Qian Daolu, he would have sent 1 tidal Douluo from the martial soul hall to the west heaven. From the current situation, the original decision was still very correct. A soul beast with a history of 100,000 years can withstand the attacks of 2 ordinary tidal Douluo. The strength of this dark demon evil god tiger is even stronger than that of ordinary soul beasts. In fact, its strength will be even stronger. Situ Han decided to find an opportunity to give it 4 at once and let it test the power of hot weapons. As an assassin, his favorite thing is to kill with just 1 strike, because no one can guarantee that the enemy will have such a means of flipping the card. A slight mistake can come at the cost of life. Situ Han's soul power was running inside his body, and a simple and ancient long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. This sword was found in the soul guide of a level 85 soul Douluo he had killed in the frozen forest. Seeing its unique material and ancient style, he did not let Douluo sell it and left it in his own hands. He did not expect it to play such a role at a critical moment. After carrying the soul power of Situ Han, a crack suddenly appeared on the sword body, constantly expanding and instantly spreading the entire sword body. Is the material still too low? Situ Han felt the damage to the ancient sword and immediately stopped his soul power input. A blood-colored sword chi instantly swung towards the dark demon evil god tiger. Without the martial soul and the 10 times armor-piercing attribute of the 6 soul bones on his body, using only an ordinary long sword, Situ Han's attack power immediately paled several times more. The dark demon tiger let out a low roar, and a grey wave of energy burst out from it. The blood-colored sword energy unleashed by Situ Han was instantly offset by the wave of energy. I thought Situ Han, who had a vast sea of energy in his body, had impressive strength. However, after a real battle, the dark demon evil god tiger realized that it was wrong, and it was outrageous. The person in front of him may not even be able to withstand his own blow. For many years, he has been too cautious, even taking a mole ant seriously. After devouring the soul power of the soul beast for 100,000 years, the confidence of the dark demon evil god tiger was extremely shattered. The originally cautious nature had become unstable. After seeing the great supplement of Situ Han, he foresaw that he was about to become invincible, and the last trace of his cautious nature instantly disappeared. The wings on the back of the dark demon evil god tiger suddenly shook, and the surrounding air fluctuated violently. The fierce wind was piercing, and the dark demon evil god tiger, with its big mouth open, rushed towards Situ Han. Invincible strength, it has been waiting for too long. It wants to devour Situ Han with one strike, making itself a true king among beasts. Got it. Situ Han let out a deep sigh, and his soul power quickly entered his ring and soul guide. The safety pins of the 4 god-killing grenades were instantly pulled open, and he threw them from the soul guide into the bloody mouth of the dark demon and evil god tiger. The reason for choosing 4 is because Situ Han was a bit worried that the power of this god-killing hand thunder would be blocked by the inherent defense skills of the dark demon evil god tiger. If he couldn't kill it with one strike, it would be difficult to kill the dark demon evil god tiger again. Although Situ Han had not practiced any unique Tang sect skills and his throwing techniques were average, the dark demon evil god tiger with wind attributes was extremely fast and swallowed 4 spherical grenades in an instant, without even the chance to shut up. At the moment of throwing the god of killing thunder, Situ Han quickly retreated. He didn't want to duel with this evil tiger again in the arena of life and death. The power of a god-killing grenade is comparable to 3 kilograms of TNT. Basically, if a rural self-built 2-story building is left with only a pile of rubble in an instant, all 4 grenades will explode together. With the low combat power of Douluo continent, the dark demon tiger has no chance of survival. With a loud roar, the dark demon tiger was instantly blasted into countless pieces of charred flesh, leaving only a mysterious and unpredictable bead emitting black, green, and blue light quietly floating in the air. One-hit kill. The fast combat speed of one person, one beast made Bibidong and Xiaowu in the secret formation unable to react for a while. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Mutation of Martial Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Mutation of Martial Souls. Xiaowu looked at the dark demon tiger, whose body was shattered into countless charred flesh, and trembled as she said, "Well, this is dead." Seeing the primordial life pearl of the dark demon evil god tiger, Situ Han disregarded the scorching temperature of Zhou and instantly adjusted his body shape to rush to the side of the pearl, using his soul power to tightly imprison it, preventing it from breaking into space and escaping. Although Situ Han was not sure what the purpose of the dark demon evil god tiger's life pearl was, he knew it was a big treasure and couldn't let it run away. The dark demon evil god tiger possesses 3 attributes: wind, thunder, and evil. Its greatest innate characteristic, like its own martial soul, is devouring. How could its innate pearl be an ordinary object? Situ Han looked at the bead in his hand and couldn't help but think that the dark demon evil god tiger had been shattered by the explosion. Don't even think about the soul ring. This bead has more than half of its energy. If he uses the bloodthirsty sword to devour the energy of this bead, he doesn't know if he can repair his damaged martial soul. The explosion just now has already alarmed many soul beasts, including Daming and Erming in this forest. When they arrive, with Xiaowu present, they will become their strongest protector. Situ Han did not hesitate at all. With a flash of red light in his hand, the bloodthirsty sword was immediately summoned and suddenly inserted into the dark demon evil god tiger's life pearl. Feeling a hint of blood, the bloodthirsty sword's ability to devour suddenly came into play. The green, blue, and black energy slowly floated from the tip of the sword, and in an instant, it had already enveloped the entire sword body. Feeling the full energy of the evil energy emanating from the sword, Situ Han didn't dare to be careless and fell from the air in an instant. He crossed his knees and began to use his soul power to purify the evil energy. On the ground, Bibidong and Xiaowu saw Situ Han suddenly fall and hurriedly walked towards him. Due to Bibidong being pregnant and having difficulty moving, the two of them walked for more than 10 minutes to reach the place where Situ Han was meditating. However, at this moment, Situ Han had already fallen into a black and white intertwined spherical energy. Even though he was more knowledgeable than Bibidong, he couldn't figure out what was going on. The two of them could only sit quietly next to Situ Han, patiently waiting. Situ Han fell into a deep realm of cultivation, unaware of the changes in the outside world. He just kept using his soul power to absorb the energy of the dark demon tiger's life pearl. Time passed by bit, and more than an hour later, 200,000-year-old soul beasts, Daming and Erming, arrived at Xiaowu with heavy bodies. The scars on their bodies showed that they had clearly experienced a considerable battle before coming. The ground shook violently, and although Bibidong knew that a powerful soul beast was coming, she had no cultivation at all. Moreover, Situ Han was still here, so she couldn't just escape like this. Moreover, she was pregnant for over 5 months, and even if she did, she couldn't go far. Unlike Bibidong's tense expression, Xiaowu was very calm because she knew that only 2 soul beasts, Daming and Erming, could create such movement and stillness in the forest. Just as Bibidong was preparing to die, a slight movement occurred in the black and white sphere that was guarding Situ Han. The black and white sphere slowly rose into mid-air, and a ray of light cracked from the sphere. With a loud bang, all the black and white energy was consumed by Situ Han sitting inside, and the smoke dissipated, revealing Situ Han's figure. Absorbing the energy of the dark demon evil god tiger, Situ Han's originally pure soul power was transformed into black and white. The bloodthirsty sword suspended beside him absorbed the attribute energy of the dark demon evil god tiger, and the blood-colored sword body appeared in 4 strange colors: red, green, blue, and black. Just as Situ Han grasped the handle of the sword, the pure soul power in his body began to be devoured by the bloodthirsty sword. The 4-colored energy on the sword body was gradually eroded by the black and white soul power. After a few breaths, the bloodthirsty sword mutated again. Like the soul power in Situ Han's body, the black and white colors on the sword are distinct, and the original red color has no trace, completely disappearing. Situ Han lightly stroked the long sword in his hand. What he didn't expect was that the life pearl that had devoured the dark demon and evil god tiger would undergo such a strange change in his martial soul. However, his martial soul had really been repaired, and the information transmitted from the sword body to his mind was very surprising to Situ Han. Having obtained the original energy of the dark demon tiger, the devouring power of the bloodthirsty sword has evolved again. Now, he can not only devour the energy of the soul ring, but also the energy of the soul bone. I just don't know if I can devour the artifact. After settling down, Bibidong will definitely go to the capital of slaughter to try. Situ Han couldn't help but daydream. In the battle with Qian Douluo, Situ Han deeply realized his own lack of strength. There are still people in this world who can fight him, and only by becoming stronger can Situ Han capture the beautiful women of all sizes in Douluo with peace of mind. Situ Han put away his martial soul and teleported to Bibidong's side. "How are you doing?" Bibi asked with a cut. Situ Han smiled and said, thanks to the help of this dark demon and evil god tiger, my damaged martial soul has been repaired. As the two of them spoke, 100,000 years rushed over, and the wind and clouds changed color. Looking at the two humans next to Xiao Wu, they were always ready to attack. Situ Han was able to defeat the dark demon and evil god tiger, and Xiao Wu had already guessed that his strength was in the title Douluo, which must have revealed his identity. However, he avenged his mother and was clearly his benefactor. Xiao Wu didn't hide anything and shouted to Daming Erming, don't take any action. He killed the dark demon evil god tiger and avenged my mother. Upon hearing Xiao Wu's words, the accumulated power of Daming Erming dissipated immediately. Daming said to Situ Han, human, thank you very much for your help. Bibidong looked at Xiao Wu beside her, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. As the former pope of the martial soul hall, she certainly knew about the transformation of soul beasts, but it was the first time she had seen the transformation of soul beasts with her own eyes. Situ Han was not too surprised. The soul beast faction where Xiao Wu was located can be said to be the strongest combination of soul beasts. If it weren't for Bibidong killing Xiao Wu's mother in the beginning, each of them would have transformed into a human hope, perhaps the entire family could have transformed into a human hope. Since you are able to speak, I believe your cultivation has exceeded 100,000 years and you already have your own territory in this forest. My wife and I have formed an enmity with others. I wonder if you can temporarily seek refuge from your enemy within your territory. Situ Han asked in a voice. Even small villages like Holy Soul Village on the whole continent will have soul masters from the martial soul hall passing by. Now that Bibidong is pregnant, running around is obviously not good for her health. With the protection of 200,000-year soul beasts, unless the martial soul hall uses two tidal Douluo to go to this Star Do forest, it is impossible to harm her. Moreover, the people of the martial soul hall never imagined that they would choose to live in the Star Do forest, a place where soul beasts are scattered everywhere. End of this chapter.